Hello everyone, welcome to Anna with Plants. My name is Anastasia and thank you for joining me for today's video. I have been wanting to make this video for quite a while because I think the Hoya market has been changing so much in the last couple of years than when I got into it that it's kind of hard to navigate as a beginner which Hoya you want to start off your collection with. And so I came up with these categories or types of Hoya that you should try to check off your list to get a really well-rounded collection. You can kind of decide from there which ones you want to explore more of. So I have 12, either an exact species or a category. So we're gonna dive right into it and talk about a specific species. And all my lights turned off. Okay, we're back. So we're gonna start off with a specific species of Hoya, which is the Hoya mathilde. The mathilde I'm showing you is the variegated one. So this is what mine looks like. I have had the mathilde splash, super silver, and I think those are all the types of mathilde I've had. I've also had a mathilde bloom. Mathilde blooms are really fun as well, but this is what my current mathilde looks like. This is an all around super iconic, really good beginner Hoya. Mathildes are really easy to grow. I think that's kind of a general consensus. I don't hear too many people talking about mathildes being that difficult for them. The nice thing about the categories is you can go as expensive. So you can try to get the gray fairy, which is the full silver mathilde, which at the time I'm filming this is quite expensive. Or you can start off with a classic green mathilde, which you can find probably at a big box store by now. I heard that they've been getting a lot more Hoyas in. It's really up to you how much money you want to spend in terms of starting out your Hoya collection. I will say this variegated mathilde, when I bought mine for $100, I believe, and it was a couple nodes, but now they've come down in price over this last year really quickly. Again, really good bloomer, very common. Did I say bloomer? I meant grow. They are more common, but they're also like a staple. You can't really call yourself a Hoya person if you don't at least have one type of mathilde in your collection. So this is my first category, is a mathilde. The next category that I think would be a perfect starter pack Hoya is a small leaf Hoya. And I know I showed the mathilde, which those leaves are on the small side, but I'm talking about even smaller. So I have two Hoya that kind of fit under that role. So the first one I want to talk about is the Chinghungensis. Again, this is the variegated version. So this is the pricier out of the two that are currently available at the time of me filming this, which is the regular green form and the variegated form. This Hoya I loved from the first time I saw it. I had a regular green form that was literally cascading. I also bloomed this one, and it's just a really nice piece, I think, if you're into decor and plants, because it really tends to break up the space when you have really long. Unfortunately, I did cut mine. It used to be maybe this long, and I took 4 3-node cuttings off of it, so it is much smaller, but it has sprouted this since, and that's what I love about this small leaf Hoya, is it's a really fast grower. It's not that difficult to take care of once it's established. I think that's the asterisk in this. If you're trying to buy an unrooted cutting of a Chinghungensis and you're not super comfortable with rooting Hoya, I will say it is a more tricky Hoya to root. I rooted my cuttings that I took recently in fluvial stratum and perlite under high humidity prop boxes, and that seemed to really do the trick. They rooted out no problem, but I have had personal experience and other people have said that these are a little bit trickier to root, so just know that going into it. I would buy an established plant if you're not familiar with rooting Hoyas. But if the variegated is in your budget, it is very pretty. This one grew on me because, do you see these new leaves? They come in hot pink, which I think is such a lovely touch to the plant. Really fast grower, so it's a very rewarding one, and also really nice trailing Hoya, I think, to get too. So this is one small leaf. The other small leaf I have is the Serpens. I would say that this is kind of an intermediary Hoya. I wouldn't say it's a foolproof beginner Hoya because it does tend to like higher humidity. I bought mine as a Serpens silver. Some of the leaves As you can tell, like right here are full silver. It's really nice that I have like kind of a combo of all silver leaves, and then we also have some nice high splash leaves, and then as it trails, it gets to be low splash. This one, I actually didn't even propagate. I got it originally as maybe like a couple strands, and it just vined out on its own. It sprouted all these new growth points. Really nice Hoya to start out with because it stays very small. So even though technically this is quite a large plant for a serpens, it still stays super small, you know, like it's the size of my palm pretty much, and it's just a super cute Hoya. Also, if you get up real close, they have a little bit of texture. You see it has a little bit of abs going on, so there is more intrigue with it. Also comes in an all green variety. This one hasn't given me any problems. I do keep it in a prop box though, so just, you know, keep that in mind. I just love this plant so much. The only thing is it is a little bit tricky to bloom. I have not gotten mine to bloom yet, but that is a goal for me one of these days, is to bloom my serpens. But yeah, this is a perfect small leaf addition to any collection. The next Hoya is another species we're going to talk about, and that is a polyneura. Everyone needs to get themselves a good starter polyneura. It's a very easy to grow Hoya. I will say that although it is a fast grower, it will stall out here and there. And I don't really know the answer as to why it kind of has a little bit of a dormancy period. This is my polyneura inner variegated. This used to be quite an inexpensive Hoya, and because polyneura are fast growers, this one did come down in price. I actually recently rotted mine out. Well, not recently. I think I rotted mine out in summer, and then I decided to reroot it in the beginning of fall, and now it's towards the tail end of fall, and I have a lot of new growth happening. So I have this new vine. It has 2 new sets of leaves. This is a second vine that has 2 sets of leaves. And this is like a fresh set of baby leaves right there. So that's actually the 3rd set now that I'm looking at it. And then there's another node that is sprouting leaves at the bottom. So I got 3 vines. If you take a cutting or if you reroot it and you get it to grow again, it branches quite easily. You don't really have to propagate it on your own to get a full plant. It does the work for you, which is very nice. But I just kind of want to show you the roots because I think this is total Hoya root porn right here. Look at these roots. They are so thick because Hoya roots tend to be quite thin, but these are really, really nice roots. I just wanted to show you guys and point that out because I think it's really satisfying to look at. But anyway, back to the polyneura. So many varieties. Let me show you another variety of polyneura I have. This is the jasminca, or it's also called the albo splash. Albo because there is a variety called the polyneura albo marginata because it has the white on the outside, and then there's also a polyneura broget which has splash across it. This is kind of like a hybrid of the two. I believe somebody's albo marginata mutated with a bunch of splash, and then now you have the jasminca or the albo splash. So mine started off with just this cutting. I bought it last season and I have now all of these leaves. Again, really fast growers. When they're growing very, very quickly. Also has been rooting out really well in this pot. The other varieties, there's a full silver one, I know that, and now there's a lot of variations on this albo splash. There's an ice queen, there's a polyneura king. I think that's the most new variety of polyneura, which is just like the inner variegated that I showed you, but now it has some splash across the middle. Who knows how many more there will be in the future, and all different price points. There's also a regular green form that is very affordable, regardless of which type you get. It's a nice cascading Hoya. This one isn't really trellised ever, which is nice if you don't want the upkeep of a trellis. This one really doesn't need it at all, and it's just a very beautiful Hoya to have in your collection when you're starting out. So yes, this is the polyneura category. The next category we're going to talk about is textured. I have two examples of what textured could mean, so whatever strikes your fancy, because not only can they look nice, they can also have such a variety of textures. It's really one of the things that make Hoya a little bit different from other genus, because you think of a monstera leaf, it's going to be a monstera leaf, but Hoya really excel in different textures, so I think you do need a Hoya that really feels quite different from other Hoya. So I have two examples to show you. One is going to be, you can see it's textured and it's more of like a glossy textured. When you feel it, it's more, you can feel the ridges. For this one, I have my UPT009. I had to include this one for the textured category because the other name for it is literally textured veins. This one was a no-brainer. This is by far the most textured leaf I've grown. And you can see that it just has so many dimples and bumps and ridges. And if you get even closer within the ridges, you even have more dimples and bumps. So this is by far one of the most textured Hoyas that I own. And in terms of the feel, it's very glossy, but you can feel the bumps, and on the other side, you can also feel what I'm feeling underneath it. It's super bumpy on both ends. Not only can you see it, but you can also feel the difference of this one, because there are a lot of Hoya out there that just have a normal flat leaf, whereas you also have these. Latifolia in particular kind of have a lot of this sort of raised venation and stuff, but this one is just extra raised to really bring home the point. You don't need like this exact specific one because it is a little bit harder to come across. It's just here to serve its purpose. I will also note that this grew under much higher light than these leaves did. So I think if you want to bring out some of the raised veins, if your Hoya can do that, I would try to put it under higher light and see what it does, because that's how I was able to get this really beautiful leaf. Because you see down here, this one is grown in lower light and it is a lot more flat. So play around with the light conditions and the leaves can look super different. So this is one example. We have a Hoya that fell over. Anytime I do a Hoya video, at least one has fallen over. When it comes to texture, a lot of people say pubescent. That just means that it is kind of furry. It's not exactly hairy, but it's a little bit furry to the touch. This specific plant is pretty small, but I did used to have a much larger plant of this before, unfortunately, it died. So this is the Hoya globulosa, and the specific one I have is called the cow dang, or I've also seen it cow bang. I'm not really sure which one it is. So you have the raised venation, kind of like the other Hoya I showed you, but the difference for this one is the underside is super fuzzy. And again, you're not going to be able to really see it on the camera too much. This is just something that you'll have to feel. So on top you have a really glossy raised experience, and then underneath you have very furry. I just think it's so much fun. These are the original prop leaves. So this one is a little bit lighter because it's starting to harden off, but they kind of get like a darker green color. This is the ultimate textural experience for a Hoya. I have said this before about this Hoya, and I bought it again because I missed it in my collection that much. There's a lot of globulosa varieties out there too. If the round leaf isn't your thing necessarily, they also have really long lance-like globulosa varieties that are a little bit wavy on the edges. I think those are really beautiful as well. A nice globulosa will definitely fit the bill for a nice texture Hoya, and the nice thing about globulosa is they're not really too difficult to take care of. I know I did say that I killed this one because it got rust. That was the first and the last time any Hoya I had that unfortunately died from rust. So maybe that was just like a one-off thing. Before that point, it was a really nice, easy grower. Get yourself a textured Hoya. The next category that I have is a variegated Hoya. Even if variegation is not your thing, and I totally understand, at least one variegated Hoya to start you off, just to see if you like it or don't like it. And as you can see, I do have quite a bit of variegated Hoya that I just showed. But if I were to pick my #1 most favorite variegated hoya, it's gotta be my Naba onensis variegated, because it's just a little bit of a different flavor of variegation. Let me get you up close. I honestly promise that I need to stop cutting mine because I've taken quite a lot of cuts off of it and it looks a little bit smaller than I remember. So I think I need to take a pause on cutting this one. I do have some new growth happening. These are the newest sets of leaves back there, and it's fun because they kind of come in a little bit sunstressed. They'll go down to this kind of nice creamy color. So the variegation is kind of watercolor in my opinion, which I think is some of the prettier variegation out there. And the thing that I love about this Hoya that makes it a little different from other variegated Hoyas is the back of this is mauve. And I think that's really, really pretty. It's like strokes of mauve coloring. It's really nice. This one is expensive, but nowadays there are some Hoya that are variegated that are more affordable. One off the top of my head that is beautiful is the Hoya australis lisa. That's a really good one. That's common. Starting off with a variegated Hoya is a good move to make just to see if you like them and if you want to continue collecting them. Next category I have is crusty dusty, or an alternative is ugly cute. So these Hoyas at first glance look kind of ugly, but then the more that you look at them, you find some cute characteristics. Another name for it is like a prehistoric or like a dinosaur Hoya, although I tend to like crusty dusty better. Let me show you what I mean by this, and then hopefully you'll get it. So this is my undulata splash. Let me bring you a little closer, and you can see that it's not like the cutest Hoya you've ever seen. It's a bit crusty dusty. The splash is a bit irregular. You have these really serrated, sharp leaves to it. It just looks like a little bit unpolished, but that's the whole point. This Hoya is ugly cute. And I think it's ugly cute because I love the wave of the leaves, and you can also get some undulata varieties that are much splashier too. Let me see, this is the newest leaf. It's kind of curled back a bit because it's been growing pretty close to the grow light, but we also have a new growth point sprouting out here. I don't think I have any peduncles yet, but the flowers of an undulata is also very beautiful. Again, this is more of like an intermediate, well, it depends on what variety of undulata you have, because I think the varieties have gotten better over time in terms of care. I remember when undulatas first came out, they were very notorious for being super difficult. I haven't really found it to be the case with mine, but for full disclosure, I do grow this in a grow tent, so that is pretty ideal conditions in terms of humidity and light too. I don't know if that would be the same story if I grew it in ambient. I think that this definitely is a nice crusty dusty one. Let me show you another. Can't do crusty dusty without a good clemenciorum, and nowadays the Hoya market, there's so many different varieties of clemenciorum. This specific one comes from northern Sumatra. I bought this one from Unsolicited Plant Talks. So characteristics of a clemenciorum, they're gonna have more thick leaves. They're gonna be really rigid. They're also gonna be quite big. You can tell compared to my hand, that's a little bit bigger than my hand actually. They're gonna have really nice texture to them, very velvety almost on the underside. You have veination, you have splash, and then you also have the serrated wavy edges to it. Clemenciorum is something that I think grows on people. When you think of Hoya, you think of really cute dainty Hoyas, and then you see something like this, which is huge and just really cool looking. I think that clemenciorums are some of the coolest looking Hoya that you can get out there. It really changes your opinion of what a Hoya can be, which I love that. There are also some varieties that can turn really red and sunstressed. A really nice clemenciorum, I think, will definitely elevate your collection. They are, depending on what variety of a clemenciorum you get, some are easier than others. I will say they are not the fastest growers. This one has been a pretty consistent grower for being a clementiorum. I will say that. I just realized I should really show them over here because they kind of fade into the tree behind me. Now you can get an idea of the size. Sorry about that. I don't really have too many problems with it. Now that there are so many types out there, they are coming down in price. I've seen them go for maybe like $30. This is my other suggestion for a crusty dusty hoya. Next category, we have a silver hoya. There's so many silver varieties out there. I needed to have a category that counts a silver hoya in it. Also, super wide price range. The cheapest silver hoya is probably like a lacunosa silver, which can easily be under $10 for like a nice pot. And then, you know, most expensive is like really dealer's choice and hundreds of dollars. I have one, this is my most favorite silver hoya in my entire collection. And longtime viewers of mine might know exactly which one I'm gonna show. So it will not be a surprise to any of you, but this is my Mitrata silver, and oh my god, I need to fix this trellis situation so bad. I need to repot this hoya. I can't believe it's my favorite hoya and I'm just keeping it with the most wonky trellis. I need to get it out of this pot. I need to retrellis it. It's now officially the holidays. Who's got time to repot and retrellis a hoya? I don't know. I don't. Anyway, this is my Mitrata silver. In terms of me being shook, flabbergasted, could not take my eyes off of a new plant, this is the first one because I bought it when it was kind of popular, paid $100 for a 1-node cutting of this one. And it wasn't until it arrived in the mail and I saw what it looked like that I'm like, oh, this is not your standard silver hoya. This is so much more than that, and that's why it will forever be my favorite silver hoya. It doesn't matter if this will one day be sold in big box stores. This is still going to be my favorite silver hoya because it almost has, certain leaves have almost like a camouflage silver pattern to it. You get different shades of silver, which I think is incredibly unique. Like some of them can be quite full silver, but I would say the vast majority of mine has been more like of a splotchy silver, which I love personally. And I'm sure if you're familiar with this, you know what I'm about to say, but the back sides are like a dark purple color, which is unlike all of the other silver hoyas. So they can either be blocked purple or they can be like a little bit splotchy. This is a really nice example of the shades of silver, and then we have the purple backs to it. If the foliage doesn't sell you, which would be very surprising considering how beautiful it is, the blooms, I have bloomed this thing twice now off of this peduncle, which looks really strange. This peduncle is, yeah, it looks very strange. It's like growing off of the original peduncle. I've never seen such a misshapen peduncle before, but yeah, it's bloomed twice for me now. The blooms are also very pungent, so just keep that in mind. I will shout the praises of this hoya off of the rooftops. Despite me having it in a really janky situation, do you see the color of this water? It's growing out to the bottom of the pot. There's 2 different substrates in there. So there's a layer of the original substrate and then I put a completely different substrate on it. The trellis is super unstable and falls over all the time. It still does well. I've let it go really dry, doesn't skip a beat. There's also different varieties, so you can get one for under $100 now, but then there are other varieties of the Mitrata out there now that are quite expensive. Might need to save up for one, but I think like this one is one that you won't regret personally. Now, I realize this is probably the most biased category. It is not a necessity for probably any other person's Hoya starter pack other than mine, but if you're asking me, then this is what I'm gonna say. You need to start off with an aceh, and there are so many out there now at a lot of different price points. You can definitely start off with an aceh. And in terms of aceh, we're gonna talk about one of my favorites, of course, a prime example of what an aceh can look like and what you can expect one to be like. This is the davinci, which doesn't look all that different, all that impressive, but once you get it under the right light, I think it's super stunning because it is a textural hoya. So let me show you what I mean. So you see those raised edges right here. Let me show you the newest leaf because that one was growing pretty close to the grow light, and it is pretty spectacular. It was really spectacular when it was coming out as well. There you go. Acehs definitely have a raised veins. Some of them are flat, but I would say the vast majority of them do have some kind of textural intrigue going on there. They also have these really dark midlines in the back. They are a little bit slower of growers. I've had this one for almost 2 years now, and it is getting to be sizable. I did cut this a couple times, so take that into account. But it is a slower grower, I will say. I do have some new growth happening right here at this node. There's 2 leaves coming there, so I will have to make sure I keep on top of watering that because I don't want to lose that one. This is the newest leaf, and it really made me fall in love with this plant all over again. It's such a good one. I know some people have told me that this is also the Nap 01, which I do have that in my collection. My Nap 01 looks quite different than my davinci does. I don't know if there's like variety in it. It could be that getting yourself a really nice aceh will make you fall in love with hoyas because there's now so many varieties out there too. I believe that they're all stunning. An aceh category needed to happen. Next category is a purpley toned or a purpley hued hoya because color difference will also be a nice addition to any collection. There are quite a few hoya that will fit this category well. I'm going to talk about 2 that I have in my collection. Sorry, this is not the best it's ever looked, but see it for the example. This is the Sabah dragonfly. It's also called the EPC 960. I broke this trellis, that's why it looks incredibly wonky, and I don't know what is going on with the hoya because it used to be a pretty fast grower, and then it kind of took like on a dormancy period this year. Checked it for flat mites. It's not flat mites. The leaves are very firm. I don't know. I feel like it just needs a repot because I looked at the roots and they don't look the best. So I'm thinking that's what the problem is, a repot. But anyway, hopefully you can see the tone shift. Not only are the leaves like much darker than the other ones, they're a little bit purple tinged, and sometimes the camera doesn't really pick up color differences super well. Let me see the backside because the backside, oh yeah, you can see the purple. Sorry, my dogs. You can definitely see the purple now on the backside. That's also why I love this one. This specific hoya that I'm showing you also has a little bit of a light splash to it, which is nice. A nice purpley hued hoya, and I also love the shape of the leaves too. So this is one example. Let me show you another one. Okay, this you haven't seen a while because I rotted it out a while back ago, and I just kind of have been allowing these cuttings to grow and do their thing in the grow tent, but now it's at a pretty good size. This is the sigillatus, and the specific variety I have is a Borneo. So the Borneo has these really wide, rounder leaves. There are some varieties out there that are a lot more skinny and tapered, but this one is not only wider, it's also a lot more splashy. I love the new growth that's been happening because look at how splashy this is. Nearly full silver, a little bit of green popping through there. It's had some super beautiful new leaves happening. Like look at those leaves, and hopefully you can see it's gray and purple, which I love. Also has really beautiful back sides. If you can see that, it's almost like a reddy purpley color. Such a beautiful hoya. I have this one pretty close to a grow light as well, so that also helps with the color too. This one is also not too expensive as well, so if you like it, it is definitely more on the affordable side. So we got the Sigillatus Borneo. The next category we have is trailing, and whenever you have a trailing hoya category, you gotta do one specific hoya, And a lot of you that are into Hoya will probably know what this is, but I can't leave it out because when you're talking about trailing Hoya, this is the one that comes to mind. This is the one that pretty much everyone knows or needs to know, and that is the linearis. You haven't seen my linearis in a while. It went into rehab mode because I decided to chop a lot of it and prop it, but this is about how long it is right now. So we have some really, really long vines. Like I think this is the longest one. It just keeps going and going. And then we have some shorter vines and we also have new growth. And that's mainly why I wanted to kind of restart my pot because it hadn't been growing as well. And I have in terms of my growing experience with this Hoya, it hasn't been 100% the best. So I will say, even though some people will tell you it's a super easy beginner Hoya, I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that propaganda, unfortunately. My experience is it's a little finicky, but once it gets going, it's pretty easy to maintain that growth. Hi, Simba. So this is what it looks like. I'm sure you guys have seen this one. This is a very, very iconic classic Hoya. It's honestly like a Hoya that doesn't even really look like a Hoya. It kind of looks like a Ripsalis, and a super great Hoya to act as decor as well. It has like a really lovely cascading pattern that will add a nice pop of green and some nice textural intrigue. It's just such a nice Hoya despite my mixed growing experiences with it. And although I have gotten it to bud up, I have not gotten it to bloom yet, unfortunately. So yes, on top of regrowing and trying to grow out fuller, I would love to bloom my linearis one day. Next Hoya we have for trailing is so I bought this from Gardino Nursery as a Kentiana, and this is the Lori Lynn variety. There's a green form, there's an inner variegated form. This specifically is the outer variegated variety of it, and this is what it looks like. I love this for trailing. You will often see this plant trailing, and when they get bushy and full, they really, really look fantastic. I love the outer variegated one because the leaves, when they come in, are this pink, which I think looks so pretty to contrast the cream and the green color. I have this really nice full white vine, and the white stays really well. It doesn't brown or crisp, which is really nice. I love the pink margins that this Hoya can get like this. Also, really nice added touch is the back sides look quite beautiful as well. I really love the markings on this one. This one, as you can tell, has been growing in my grow tent. So look at those absolutely crazy aerial roots that are happening. Also, I recently repotted this one and it's totally growing out the bottom of the pot. We'll need an upsize eventually, but this one's been pretty easy for me. I heard some people say they're slow. Once it gets going, I think it really does get going. Oh, and this one also has bloomed for me off of this peduncle too. I don't know if I took pictures of it or not, but yeah, Kentiana Lori Lynn is a really nice one and is kind of like the least common variety of this type of Hoya. Really love it. The second to last category is lacunosa. I also had lacunosa for my older video. If you guys don't remember, this is an old video on my channel now, but I had like top 10 Hoyas that you need in your collection or something. And I did something kind of like this, and I also had lacunosa as a category in that, and I still stand by that. This is one of my favorite lacunosa, and it didn't always used to be that way, but it has bloomed, well, not bloomed, it's like bloomed in growth, you know, had like a growth spurt or something. This is the tricolor Bruno lacunosa, and I like it because it's a little different from, there's so many variegated lacunosa. There's so many lacunosa in general. I think there's a lacunosa for each and every person. There's really beautiful dark green ones, there's wavy ones, there's variegated mint, all varieties, trust me. This is more of a wavy variegated version, and I love that the variegation also comes in like a blush pink color. That's really beautiful. I did rot this one out a while back ago, and I had to reroot it but look at how good it rooted up, and the growth has just exploded. This growth has happened maybe over the course of 6 months, and it used to be much, much smaller than this. Just a really good fast grower and also super pretty to look at as well. Gotta add the mint coin, which is my favorite variety of silver lacunosa. This is what mine looks like. Do you guys remember when I used to have a full pot of this and I rotted it out way back when? I was using that tree fern substrate and I had to reroot it, and literally I did have multiple cuttings, but it was just in this pot. They were not trailing, they were not this long, and now I have this full pot of cuttings. It's honestly insane how fast this one grows, and I love it because it's round, but it also has a little bit of mottling. It has like these darker patches, so it's not fully silver, which I love. So that's what that looks like. Love it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it trailing or if I'm going to try to trellis it, because I did have it on like a nice hoop trellis back in the day. I'm just so glad that I have a full pot of this again, and it was really easy. It was just chilling in my grow tent. I didn't even really notice how big this is until I pulled it out today, and I'm like, holy crap, that grew really quickly. Just look at how many roots are coming out the bottom of that thing. It's just insanely rooted. I think this is quite an easy hoya once you get it in the right substrate for you. We're gonna go into the last category, and oh no, Simba has found squeaky toys. So sorry, we're just gonna keep going through the noise. My last category is sunstressed. Not everyone enjoys a good sunstressed hoya, but if you're a beginner and you're starting out your collection, you need to pick one hoya that you should sunstress and see if you like it, because then that just opens up a whole other world for you. Sunstressing hoyas will give you a complete different experience in terms of appearance. So this is one pretty classic one. This is the New Guinea Ghost, or NGG. It has a purple sunstress, and I think this is especially beautiful. New Guinea Ghost, I know a lot of people say it's super easy. So this is my third time, I believe, trying with this hoya. I killed the last two because I just found it rotted really easily. For some reason, this one is fine. So sometimes it's the plant you get. Suggest if you really love a plant, maybe just buy a different type if you know it's not super expensive, and just try that out, because this one has been really easy. Its sunstress is purple, but you can still see the veination through it. I hope you can see that. It's really, really beautiful. This one's super bushy because I keep cutting it, and then also nice addition is the undersides of the leaves. And the last hoya I have to talk about under the sunstress category is the Ganun Gading. This is a really classic hoya when it comes to sunstressing, and I have it kind of growing partially behind. So do you see where it is no longer under the grow light and kind of behind it? So this is what the Ganun Gading usually looks like. It's a really pretty veiny hoya. Hi, Simba. Look at his corn. This is his corn that he's destroyed now. Okay, anyway, when you sunstress it, it can get red. And this is what I mean by how pretty sunstress is. Sometimes it gets blotchy. This one doesn't. It gets a really nice uniform red color. Oh, this one was covering this one, so you see how that looks. So this one kind of is two tonal, but it's a good example on like how different a hoya can be. So you can either have this type, or you can have something that looks like this, which is also beautiful in my opinion. This is my Ganun Gading, and this is the last hoya I have to talk about. Those are the 12 categories that I think will create a really nice starter pack for hoya people that are just getting into hoya. Like I said, you can make this as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. Let me know if your collection checks off each of these categories. I'd be curious to see how universal this can apply to other people's collections too. If you think I missed a category, then feel free to leave that down below, because this is not all inclusive. There's so many hoya out there, so many. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your December. I love you all so very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.